Hey everyone, so today we're going to be painting a unicorn. This is what we're going to be painting. My printer threw up the colors a little bit, so it's going to look a little bit different, but this is the general idea. The colors we're going to need for our paint today is pink, purple, yellow, red, white, teal, and black. You should also have a traceable with you that looks like this, and you have a piece of carbon paper. So I have not traced my image yet. You should also have a piece of masking tape that's about this long. You'll want to rip it in half and then rip each one of these in half as well, so you should have 4 pieces of tape. I like to just keep them on here until I need them. Whenever you put your graphite paper or carbon paper on your canvas, you're gonna wanna put the shiny, darker side touching the canvas. That's the side that has the graphite on it that's gonna transfer to your canvas when we trace our image onto it. So you're gonna take this, lay the shiny side on your canvas, like so. You're gonna take one piece of tape. I tape them on the side, tape that there, tape this guy here. You're gonna take your traceable, you're gonna lay it on top. You're gonna take a piece of tape. You're also gonna tape this down, like so. Then you're gonna take a pen or a pencil or anything that just has a blunt edge on the tip. It doesn't even have to have ink in it. It just has to have a tip, so you could use the back of a paintbrush if you don't have a pen. And you're just going to trace your entire image. So I'm just gonna go ahead and speed up through this as I trace my image. Okay, so we've traced our image. To check and make sure that you didn't miss anything whenever you trace it, you can just peek and see that it's there, and peek up here and see that it's there. It doesn't look like I missed anything, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. So you can just grab your tape and look. It's okay if you went off the lines a little bit because we're gonna be adding paint anyways, but you want most of the design on there. And I'm just gonna set that off to the side. So I'll be using a round brush and a flat brush. The flat brush is just to get some bigger areas done a little bit faster, and the round brush is gonna be to get some smaller areas. But you can use any brush that you'd like. And I'm going to zoom this in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna paint the background so that we know for sure where our unicorn's going to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get my flat brush because I'm gonna be covering a lot of space, and I'm gonna get it a little damp so that my paint moves nice and freely. So I'm gonna get that wet. I'm gonna dab off some of the extra water so that my paint isn't really watery. And then I'm going to grab some of my purple paint and some of my pink paint. Some of you might have some paint that's a little bit see-through because some of these colors are a little bit hard to get a lot of pigment on the canvas. So I'm just gonna scoop a little bit of these, and I'm going to brush both of them at the same time along my background. If you want more pink than purple, then you can go ahead and grab more pink, but I'm just gonna grab a little bit of both. And I usually grab my paints from the side so that I don't dirty the whole color in case later I want some pink that doesn't have any purple in it. And I'm just gonna go around and I'm gonna paint my whole background. And I'm also gonna paint my sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up while I get all of this painted. So whenever I get closer to my image, I get a little bit slower as I get really close to my lines because I want to make sure that I'm not going over my lines. So I'm gonna go slow all the way around the edges of my unicorn. But when I'm not painting the edges, I go pretty fast. But you can go slow if you want to. But when you're up next to your lines, you want to make sure that you're very careful to not go over. It's okay if you do, because we can paint over it later, but it just saves you a little bit of time if you're just careful the first time around. We have our background done. It's a little see-through, so I'm gonna come back in a minute and I'm gonna put a second coat on, but for now I'm done. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the rest of our unicorn. The first thing that I wanna do is I wanna start getting some of the pieces in that are color, and then we're gonna come back and add some of the white. Here's the thing that you do have an option with. Because the canvas is probably already white in your situation, you can just leave it the canvas, but I like to put paint on it because the texture is a little bit different than if it was paint. So this will look more matte, which means it's not shiny, and this will probably look a little bit more shiny. But it is up to you if you want to leave it that way or not. I'm gonna go ahead and put white paint on mine whenever we get to that. But first I'm gonna start adding some of our color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some yellow to our horn up here. You should still be able to see your pencil marks through it a little bit because our yellow is a little bit transparent and we want that at first. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch to my round brush and I'm going to get it damp. And I'm going to grab some yellow paint and I'm just gonna fill in my horn with this yellow. And you wanna try and make sure that you get a nice even coat of paint and you don't have a bunch of globs of paint around. You want to be careful to not touch that pink so that it doesn't get in our yellow. Alright. And we're going to stick with this yellow for a minute because we have a few other things that we need to do with it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna grab some more of that yellow and we're gonna come to our tail and we're gonna put a little bit of yellow in it to get started. So what I want you to do is I want you to come up to where your face is, where it meets your tail, and I want you to add some streaks that come all the way to the bottom. And you're gonna do that a few different places. You can stay inside of the lines that you drew on, or you can go outside of them. It's up to you. I'm just going to use them as guidelines. And I'm gonna put my new hair, and I'm just gonna leave the pencil marks as they are. You'll be able to see them a little bit, and that's okay, because we're gonna come back with some more color in a little bit. Like that. And then I'm going to come up to my hair, and my hair is gonna go almost in a rainbow pattern, but it's gonna be a little bit different. So if I start with red here, I wanna fade out to a yellow first. So I'm gonna start with red. This is going to have some orange in between. We don't have orange, so we're gonna make a little orange in a minute. We're gonna come to this second little chunk of hair, and we're going to make the right side of it yellow. And only the right side. The left side, we're going to add a little bit on just the outside, but we're not gonna fill it in. Like that. I'm going to leave a little bit here in the center that doesn't have anything in it, and I can add a little bit more once I know if I want this to be a little bit more orange or yellow. What we're going to do now is we're going to grab a little bit of red on our brush while we still have yellow. I'm just going to dip this in my red, and I'm going to come right here where our yellow is probably still a little wet, and I'm going to add this right on top. And it's going to mix in a little bit with your yellow paint. If it's not mixing just quite enough, like mine isn't quite orange enough, I'm going to grab a little bit more yellow, and I'm going to add it right on top there. And I'm doing nice smooth strokes, kind of like hair. If you want to make your hair pieces one solid color, you can do that as well. But I like mine to fade a little bit. And I'm gonna leave that orange color. I'm going to add probably another layer in a minute, but for now I'm going to let that dry like it is. I'm going to clean out my brush. And I'm going to grab red paint and paint this first piece of hair red. We're gonna clean out our brushes, and we're gonna switch to another color in our hair. We're gonna grab some of our teal, and we're gonna put some teal in our hair. If you don't want your colors in this order, then you don't have to. You can paint your little chunks of hair any color that you want. I'm going to paint this whole chunk teal, and I'm going to add yellow to it here in a minute and blend them together. I do my paintings in a slightly different order every time I do them, so sometimes I just kind of play with the hair on this painting until I kind of just like it. And it's always going to be different probably every time I do this painting. All right, I have, okay, that looks good. I have my teal on there. I'm gonna clean out my brush and I'm going to grab some yellow. And while this teal is still wet over here, I'm gonna add some yellow. At this time, if you wanna just play with the hair and add in all the colors that you want, you can go ahead and do that. So you see whenever I add some yellow onto this teal, it turns into a lime green color. Oops, I got some of that. That's all right. I'll come back and add some more yellow there. All right. I'm gonna clean out my brush again. And I'm going to put some purple next. Put some purple in my hair. It's all right if it's a little see-through because we can put another layer on our hair as well if we want to. And I'll put a little bit of yellow in here. Oops, I still have some purple in there. I'm gonna clean that out. Grab some more yellow. And now I'm not in my rainbow pattern anymore, but I think the yellow will just look really cool right here. So I'm gonna add it. And I'm gonna add some pink next to it. Now, whenever this pink hits that yellow, it's gonna turn a little orange. It's gonna be different than the first orange that we put on there. And that's all right. Because we wanna have a little fun with our hair. I'm gonna try and smooth out this pink a little bit. These fluorescent pinks are just a little bit tricky sometimes to work with. And I'll have to come in here and add more yellow here in a minute because I lost a lot of it. That's all right. So I'm gonna clean out my brush. I'm gonna come down to my tail. My yellow is dry. I wanted to put on some yellow first there so that I didn't lose all of my yellow when I add more colors in my tail, so my tail doesn't get too muddy. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add some teal. And I'm going to add these in strokes of color, kind of like you would draw hair. I'm gonna grab some more teal, and I'm gonna add some here. And again, if you want to fill these in just solid bits of color, you can do that too. But I like to make it look really funky and fun. Add some more teal. We will add some purple next. I'm not even gonna wash my brush. I'm gonna add some purple in here without even washing my brush. Maybe that was not a good idea. That's okay. We can add more color here in a minute. I'm gonna add some red, but this time I am gonna clean out my brush just in case. There we go. I like that. Oh yeah, that's good. This is your opportunity to just have fun with the colors that you have for this painting. And like I said, mine looks different every time I do this painting. I'm gonna clean out my brush real good, and I think I'm gonna try and add some more yellow in there while it's all wet. There we go, that looks good. Very cool. All right, I'm gonna go back to my hair, and I'm gonna add a second layer to my hair so that my hair looks really nice and rich. The first one I'm gonna add a layer to is gonna be my red. And that's going to fill that in a lot nicer. If you like the way it looks without putting another layer, you do not have to put another layer. But red is just really tricky to get nice and solid. All right. And I'm gonna add some more yellow to that middle one that I did. So So I'm gonna clean up my brush between each one of these that I do again. Your hair probably looks different at this point, and that is totally cool. If your yellow is still too see-through and I have this little bit where I got my green that came over here, I'm just gonna grab a little bit of white on my brush, and I'm also gonna dip it in yellow. And that way I should be able to paint over it a little bit better than if it was just yellow. There it goes. That white is a lot more opaque than the yellow. I'm gonna put some orange back in here, so I'm gonna grab some of that red and I'm gonna throw it in here with my yellow still on my brush. And it should be nice and orangey. There we go. Very nice. I'm gonna grab some more yellow and throw that on top because it got pretty dark. And it's okay if you go a little bit past where I had my line. He's just gonna have some longer bangs. I'll just bring it all the way down here then. There we go. Nice and long. You can do that with all of your hair pieces if you want to. And I'm gonna make this look a little more blended. Perfect. I'm gonna add some more of my other colors now. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed through this while I do my hair, and you can do your hair too, however you want. Okay, so your hair should be finished now. You'll notice that my last piece is almost all pink now, and that's okay. Sometimes things change throughout the painting, and that's just the way it's gonna be. What I want you to do now before we play with our pink anymore is I want you to add some pink to your ears. So this one, we're going to add a little bit of white to our pink whenever we do it. Just like we did with the background, we're going to double load our brush. So that means you're going to take a little bit of pink and a little bit of white on your brush. So it should look like that. And we're going to put it on our ears. So the top parts are going to be white. So on your, you'll see here, these parts are white and we're gonna put pink underneath them. That's the inside of the ear. And we're gonna come in here and I'm gonna speed up the video while I paint the insides of my ears. All right, I have the insides of my ears all done. We're gonna move around our painting a little bit here before we go back to our background. What I want you to do is grab some of that red paint. I'm not switching my brushes yet. I want you to paint the inside of the hearts on your nose that we're making your nostrils with in this red paint. If you want to make these pink, you can make them pink instead, but I like them to be a little more red because we already have so much pink around our painting. Double loaded my brush with pink and white, if I can get this to focus. So I have pink and white on here, just like we did with the ears, and I want to paint the nose around our red hearts with this white and pink, and it's gonna be a lighter pink. I won't stop you from making it any other color if you'd rather it be teal or purple or yellow. Mine's gonna be a light pink because I don't want it to look too much like my background. When you get to these little pieces around here, now that we've got some more color on here, you might need to jump up onto the tippy toes of your brush. So whenever you paint, you don't smash your brush, and it's nice on your tippy toes and you get these really nice fine lines, like so. Perfect. Our nose is now done. Before we lose these little pieces, if you're adding white, I want you to go ahead and fill them in. So I want my star to be yellow. Yours can be whatever color you want. And my eyelashes are going to be black. And I'm going to use the tippy toes of my brush so that I can get a really nice fine line. I want to go ahead and add my background again to make sure that that's starting to look nice and solid. That's a personal choice of mine, so if you like your background the way that it already is, please don't feel obligated to need to put a second coat on your background. I'm going to go ahead and speed up through that so that you don't have to sit here forever while you're watching me paint my background all over again. And I'm just going to do the same colors of pink and purple. I added a little bit of white in there because it wasn't quite as opaque as I wanted it. Please feel free to add any of your own little bits in here as you want. I never want a painting to be entirely something that I want you to paint. I want you to add little bits that you want to add in every once in a while if you'd like as well. Alright, so I don't want to make it too light, so I was trying to be careful to not add too much white because I want my ears and my nose to be the lightest pink in my painting, and I don't want it to be my background. So I have a couple pieces up here that started getting really light, and I just had to add a little bit more color onto them so that they didn't get too much lighter. I like that my whole background isn't the same value and that there are some parts that are a little bit lighter than others. I really like that. And you can completely blend these in so that your color looks nice and solid throughout the whole thing. I like mine to look kind of painterly, and I leave a lot of bits of color that are not blended in. But that's just my choice. I'm gonna clean out my paintbrush, and we're almost done here. Now is the time where you get to decide if you'd like to leave your unicorn white or if you'd like to add some white paint. I'm going to go ahead and add white paint. If you don't want to add any white paint, you don't have to. So I'm going to jump to when I've already got all the white paint on. All right, we've got our white paint all on. And I just shook my camera. That's okay. All right, so the only way you can tell that I've got white paint on here is that I've got a little bit of that paint texture. What we're gonna do now is we're going to outline everything in black paint. You can skip this part if that's also something that you don't want in your painting, but I like the black outline in this. It's going to look similar to this. If you don't like that black outline, don't use it. All right, our entire painting is now outlined in black. So now we're going to add some finishing touches to it. What we're going to start with is a little bit of some highlights. I want you to take your brush and I want you to dry it off as much as possible. We want it fairly dry. We don't want it very wet at all. So I'm just gonna take my fingers and I'm going to kind of get some of that water out. It's pretty dry now. I'm going to grab a little tiny bit of white, just on the very tip of my brush like that. And inside these ears, I'm going to add just some little bits of white right along the edges of the outside. Little tiny bit bit more. I don't want too much because I just want it to be very, very subtle. And using the same technique, I'm gonna grab a little bit of white, and I'm also going to come to this horn. And I only want a little bit of highlight, mostly on the left side. So along the left side, I'm going to just add a little tiny bit of white along each one of these little curls on my horn, like so. Just on the left side. Like that. I'm going to clean out my brush again. This time we're gonna add some pink blush. So I'm gonna clean all that out. I'm gonna get my brush nice and dry again. I'm gonna grab a little tiny bit of pink, like that. And I'm going to just add a little bit of blush on my cheeks. I'm just going to rub it in. And this is where the really transparency of that pink is gonna work to your advantage. And I might have had a little bit of too much pink, so I'm just gonna clean up my brush. I'm just gonna have a little bit of water on there, and I'm just going to blend it in with just a little bit of water. So I don't want my cheeks to look like I got sunburnt. There we go. Like that. It's really, really subtle. You can barely pick it up on the camera. It's just these little touches that make our painting look very nice. I'm gonna grab a little more pink, and I'm gonna add a little bit over here too. Again, I'm just going to grab a little bit of water and fan that up. And you probably, if you didn't bring your hair out like this long piece that I have here, you might have a little bit more room to add some of this pink over here. And a little bit too much water. There. You can barely pick it up, but that's okay. You get the idea that you want it really, really subtle, like you put blush on your cheeks. I'm gonna clean out my brush again. This time I'm going to add some little bits of color that are underneath our star, so they look like little specks. There. So it'll look like we have little bits of color around the side of our cheek. I'm gonna put this up here. And I'm just going to dip my brush in each color, and I'm just going to dab it along the side of my face. Don't get too crazy. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, is one of my favorite sayings. There. I need some teal so it doesn't look like they're all red and yellow. Perfect. One more finishing touch and we are all done. I'm gonna clean out my brush. You don't need the brush end anymore. You're gonna use the back of it. So this brush has a rounded bit. You can also get brushes that have a pointed bit, but you really want to use one that has this rounded bit. And I want you to dip it in white paint, like so. And I want you to go around your background